What radio? The music you want.
With your host, Keys Dan.
It's very important you don't stink today. Hey, I make no guarantees.
RadioWhat.com. What's up, party people? It's Keys Dan with RadioWhat.com, DJLittleRock.com, coming to you live in a living color from the Radio What studios. And this is my podcast, What Makes You Famous. It's an extension of the RadioWhat.com internet radio station that I've been running for a long time, I think. Quite some time now. And if you need DJ services, where do you go? DJLittleRock.com. Check availability. Get a free price quote for your event. Enough said. Party people in the house. Today on the program, the talented Miss Amy Barbera. So excited to talk to her. It's been a long time since I've talked to her. I think it was 2007 maybe when I talked to her last time, and that was only a small little radio interview that I did for the earlier incarnation of RadioWhat.com. I think it was RadioKeysDan.com, and that was just way too small of a name, but it has evolved, and so has Amy Barbera. I want to know more about what she's doing right now, what's happening in Amy Barbera's life. She is such a lovely person, always smiling, very colorful, and very eclectic, I think would be a good term, in the way she dresses. It's almost like a cosplay. She has so many styles for the types of music that she sings, and most of the music that she sings is Christian oriented, but it's different styles in the dance, the R&B. There's different kinds of beats that are in the background. So whenever she does the music videos, she creates these outfits that give you different feelings in the for the music. But I'm so excited to talk to her today. And thank you so much for listening to What Makes You Famous, the podcast. I've been getting so much feedback and response, and people are actually downloading this thing. See, I wondered when I first started the podcast whether people were going to be listening to it, but people have stories, and people are interesting. Even somebody who you might think of as a regular, ordinary, everyday person has a story to tell. You've been somewhere. You go. You do things, and it relates to people. And you've had hardships, and you've had trials and tribulations, and what have you. And your story could help somebody else, or could make a connection to somebody else. Where and if you're open to invitation, where you'll invite people to come to your social media page and maybe get in contact with you. Maybe you can share experiences. So I never know where these conversations are going to go, and I'm always excited to talk to people, especially the person you're going to be listening to today, Amy Barbera. She is quite the talent, and she had a beginning as well, and I'm going to find out more about Amy Barbera. Calling Amy Barbera now. Hello, Amy Barbera, please.
There he is. Hi, Keith Dan.
Hello.
You might hear my dog barking in the background.
Is that an Oreo?
Yeah, she just heard somebody outside the door and she goes berserk. He's trying to calm her down. So.
Well, I like that. 2 for the price of 1. That sounds good.
Yes. How have you been?
So good. You're on my podcast. What Makes You Famous?
What makes me famous?
Yeah. It's been so long since I've talked to you.
Oreo. She's going hysterical. Oh, no, we're on live now?
Yes, of course.
Oh, my gosh. Well, I have no idea. I mean, I guess I want to do music to really inspire and, to encourage people. And I have no idea. I guess whatever God wants.
Well, you don't have to rush it. We can go. Now, usually on the podcast, we start with where you're from, where you are, and then where you're going. I know it's been a while since we've talked, and the last time we talked, it was only like a little 15-minute thing, just a typical radio interview. But on a podcast, you get a little bit more time to tell the people about Amy Barbera. Now, pronounce your last name.
Barbera.
See, it's Barbera, and I thought
everybody always gets that mixed up.
Yeah, and I even kind of muttered it in the beginning. I said Amy Barbera, Barbara, to make sure, because I remember Hanna-Barbera. They were pretty big about pronouncing it that way.
Yeah.
So, all right, what have you done this morning? Right now, it's 10 o'clock my time, but it's 11 o'clock your time on the East Coast. What's the typical morning of Amy Barbera this morning?
Well, this morning I slept in. I try to sleep in. But I'm an early morning person.
Yeah.
And even if I go to bed really late, I still tend to get up. But I was so tired, so I went back to sleep. And I knew I was interviewing with you, so I said, let me just go back to sleep and then, get up and well, I'm not really ready. If I had to be on camera, I'd have to be ready, but I'm just actually relaxing.
Yeah.
And I'll get ready for the day afterwards.
It's just a conversation. We're just chit-chatting.
Yeah. I'm used to this. I do so many interviews. I think I've done like 7 already this year or more.
Okay.
And I'm used to interviewing.
You're very popular.
It's now, and you got emails and stuff.
Sure.
Because I know last interview, I think it was when I only had 1 album out. I don't even think I had my second album out then.
What? Well, we're getting ahead of ourselves on that one. Let's begin at the beginning, Miss Amy Barbera. Where were you born?
I was born in Hagerstown, Maryland, which is it's Western Maryland. It's near Washington, D.C., about an hour and a half to 2 hours outside of D.C.
How big?
So my dad worked for the State Department in D.C., so he had to commute every day.
Gotcha. So, all right. So dad was a G-man.
Yes. And actually, I grew up in a very small town. I was a, small town girl. We had 1 Walmart, 4 schools in the whole county. I mean, I moved to South Florida and I thought it was a big city because I couldn't believe we had 4 schools in 1 block. You know what I mean? So, and Walmart, 2 Walmarts. So for me, like moving to South Florida was city. So I kind of was very naive when I moved here. It was just a totally different type of lifestyle when you're used to growing up in a really small town.
Yeah, Hagerstown sounds like a teeny town. Really?
Yeah, and a lot of people are moving there because I have my best friend still lives there. People from my high school, but because it's so close to Washington and Baltimore, and it's very expensive to live in Baltimore, Washington, Fairfax, Virginia area. A lot of people are living in Maryland and Hagerstown now. And they have a big outlet mall. Like at the time I lived there, they only had 1 mall called the Valley Mall. And so, it's starting to get more built up. We used to have to drive in 2 hours just to go to like a decent mall when I was a kid and stuff. So, but I've lived in Florida. I moved to Florida in my early 20s, and I love it here. I don't miss the cold weather. We had, of course, the snow and the 4 seasons. So I don't miss that weather either. Where do you live?
Oh, I'm stuck in Conway, Arkansas now.
Oh my gosh! Then you're in the cold. Not now, but I mean when it gets to be winter.
It didn't snow at all. So thank you, global warming.
Oh, good! Wow.
So all right. So Hagerstown. People are moving over there because they have that big giant sign that says "Home of Amy Barbera," right?
I guess so.
All right. So Dad worked for the government. What did Mom do?
Well, my mom was more of like a stay-at-home mom. I mean, she had little side jobs and stuff.
Hardest job in the world.
Yeah, just like, she worked, she had little part-time jobs, but my dad was mainly the breadwinner. And my grandma was retired.
Yeah. And
she lived right up the street. So I spent a lot of time with my grandmother, and she was a retired teacher. So, like, I always had, we didn't have to have, when we were little, we didn't have to have nannies or, anybody watching us. Although my dad was in the military.
Oh,
so when I was from back about 2 or 3 years when I was really small, like 4 or 5 years old. We lived in England. I don't remember. I remember some of it, and I ended up being very sick in England. I almost died. I had to be in the hospital like a month. I had double pneumonia. And I had double kidney infection with pneumonia at the same time. I think I was 5 years old. So my grandmother had to fly over to England to take care of my sister because she was just 3 or 4 at the time. And my mom had to be in the hospital with me. And then my dad, of course, was in the military. So I did live over there, and I went to kindergarten for a little bit over there. But I only have vivid memories of being there. There's, not too many memories. I remember the hospital. I remember that.
Let's get a little timeline on it. What year was that? You were 3 or 4 years old.
I was born in 1972. So, God, I don't know. I was maybe 5.
Okay.
5.
Okay. So you were born in Maryland, but then you scooted over to England.
Just for a few years, and then we came back to America, and then I resided in Hagerstown until I moved away from home and went to Florida.
All right. So early school life.
My early childhood, early school life. But I was actually born in Hagerstown.
All right. Did you have a lot of friends when you were in school?
I did. I actually had a wonderful best friend, Tammy, who she's still my best friend to this day, and she still lives in Hagerstown. I had 2 wonderful boyfriends. I had a high school sweetheart, Henry, and then a college sweetheart, Patrick, who, I had really good teenage life. I actually had just the best times in high school, and I actually got best dressed as my senior year because I've always been very creative and artistic, and I was in a little bit of musical theater and choir. I did musical theater in college at Hagerstown Junior College, but I didn't have like the confidence, to really pursue music. And I had the gift of art. I had the gift of creativity and fashion and everything. But I struggled with anorexia in my teenage years, the eating disorder.
Tell me about that.
Well, I had anorexia in middle school, 8th grade going into 9th grade. And then I met my best friend, Tammy, and, I started to make friends in high school, and I got better.
How did that affect you, though, physically?
What? Well, I got to about 80 pounds. Ooh. So you can only imagine. Of course, you're a teenager then.
Yeah.
I just didn't eat. It wasn't like I didn't vomit or anything like that. I didn't have bulimia. It was just, I guess just dealing with certain things in my life. And then I got completely better. I gained the weight. I had the best high school years.
Yeah.
And then when I graduated, my high school sweetheart broke up with me. I'd been with him, he broke up with me the first year of college. So I was fine. I graduated, and I was devastated, when you're young, and I'd been with him for almost 5 years.
Wow. Okay.
I was completely devastated. Henry, yes.
Oh,
he was Korean. He was Korean. And, when you're young, we all go through these things, especially if you're a high school sweetheart. And I was so young, and I always thought, well, he's going to be the one for me. And so it was really hard for me. My best friend Tammy was there for me, and my parents, of course. And then I met Patrick, who was like an angel in my life. I always say he's my angel.
Yeah.
And he helped me through that. He helped me get over that, and then I ended up with him. But the anorexia came back, just from all the pain of dealing with the breakup, and that's when I said, I really want to get the help. I only struggled with the anorexia for 1 year, and I just didn't want to live like that because, I had so much fun in high school.
Yeah.
And I just went to counseling once a week. I didn't have to go on any treatment. I went once a week to a regular counselor, and I talked about, getting the pain from Henry, the breakup. And we were able to work through it. And when we worked through the pain of the breakup and worked through things, I just automatically, God started healing my heart, and I wanted to go back to eating, but it was really hard because I got to about 80 some pounds.
Yeah. People deal with pain in different ways.
Yeah. And it was hard on my best friend. It was hard on my sister. It was hard because, I'm a very happy, bubbly person. I love to do parties and I love to eat. And when you're in that state, it's like you become like, you don't even want to be around people. Everything's consumed by food. I mean, eating disorders, you can have many types of eating disorders. There's compulsive overeating. There's people that overeat. There's people that use food for emotional reasons. And there's people that, like Karen Carpenter, died of anorexia.
Yes. That's probably one of the most famous ones.
Yeah. So, I've never had any struggle with it, and then that's when I had a wonderful counselor. She was like an angel. And then with Patrick, the guy I was with, he was an angel. I got completely better, and I decided I wanted to pursue my dreams.
Yeah.
And I was starting to I didn't have a relationship with God. I mean, I grew up going to church,
Sure,
but it wasn't like because my grandma went to church, but it wasn't like a real relationship. So I ended up wanting to find God. It was like God was, tugging at my heart. And that's when I took a year, and because I was in college at the time studying psychology and social work.
Yeah, okay, yep.
And I took a year and saved up money because I was working in a restaurant. And I said, Dad, I want to move away from home and pursue art and music because I have a gift with creativity and art as well. And we went and visited the Art Institute in Fort Lauderdale. I saved up about a little over $10,000 on my own. I lived at home at the time, and I had a car payment, but I didn't have any other bills. So all the money from my work and Christmas money.
What kind of work did you do?
Waitressing, how teenagers do through college.
Yeah.
So I was going to college and waitressing, but I decided to leave college at the time so I could work full time and save money and then be able to move to Florida. And it was really weird because it was Pizza Hut I worked at.
Pizza Hut,
and
yeah.
I did really good there. And my manager said, they had a big going away party, but I'll never forget one of the girls that I worked with. God, I'm trying to think of her name. Becky Ballard, I think.
Everyone needs a Becky.
It was Becky. Yes. She told me one day that I would be a big singer. She was almost like God prophesying to me. Because I kind of at that time knew that I wanted to pursue, not just only go to the Art Institute, but I had the heart about pursuing music. And it was really strange because I'm friends with her sister on Facebook, and she passed away a few years ago. I think I don't know what happened necessarily, and she was very young. So it was really strange that God, it's something I can actually see where we were standing in Pizza Hut when she said that to me. It was like, God will give us little, encouragement along the way, for our destiny. So I feel like my therapist was kind of like that. And then Becky, and then they had a big going away party. And then my parents and I came down here. Now, my parents didn't stay down here, but we all drove. My grandma, we rented 2 cars, and I, went in an apartment, and we went to the Art Institute. So that was kind of my journey moving to Florida.
So you went to the Art Institute?
I graduated, in 97 with fashion.
Yeah, I was in DECA.
Really?
Yeah.
At the Fort Lauderdale Art Institute?
No, I was in high school in Fort Lauderdale. At Western High School, we had a DECA program, and I was in fashion marketing. I made my own clothes for a fashion show.
Oh, my gosh.
10th, 11th, and 12th grade.
So you went to the Art Institute then?
I went there on field trips. I never went to the Art Institute, but it was one of the thoughts that maybe I would go there, but I did not.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
Yeah, I'm from where you live.
Yeah, and then I had another thing I forgot to mention.
Yes.
Before I moved to, I almost lost my voice, my singing voice. And I've written about it and done interviews about it, but I had vocal cord nodules. Actually, I was a cheerleader all through high school.
What year was this?
And I loved.
You said
that this was. I was a cheerleader all through high school. I loved it. We had the best years cheerleading.
So
and then
when did you graduate high school?
In 1990. 1990.
Okay.
So I was working at Pizza Hut.
Sure.
Everything, and I started to have like a really rusty voice, like I couldn't talk. And and I didn't think anything of it, but I was a cheerleader all through high school where we had to scream all the time. I cheerleader for football season, basketball season, wrestling season.
Wow.
Also, I didn't have formal training with my voice, even though I was in theater and stuff. I never had formal training. And then I used to scream with Prince. Prince is my all-time favorite artist. So, at that time I wasn't a trained singer, so I would play his music and try to sing along. And he's got a really high voice for a man, and not being trained. between the combination, I developed nodules on my vocal cords.
Oh no.
So I ended up, working at Pizza Hut, and I said to my dad, I wanted to go to an ear, nose, and throat specialist. And my grandma took me, and sure enough, I had like 4 or 5 vocal cord nodules on my vocal cords. And at that time, I didn't think anything of it. Like I knew I had a heart to pursue singing, but that wasn't something at that time of my life. This is right out of high school.
Yeah.
So the doctor said, well, you have an option. You can get them removed, not knowing that, 5 years later, I'm going to be moving to Florida and pursuing music.
No. Removed is not a good thing for a singer. Mm-mm.
Well, all the singers have gotten it. Whitney, Celine.
Oh, okay.
Adele's had to cancel a lot of her tours. I think she canceled another one. And a lot of them got the surgery. I got it. I wasn't even a singer then. I'd been doing a little bit of theater. And I had the 5 nodules removed, and I've never had any problems since. But isn't that strange? Like, even it was like the devil almost was trying to take my voice, knowing that was my destiny, especially because I do music for God and inspirational music.
Yeah.
So that was another thing that I had to go through, before coming to Florida.
So, okay. So the doctors, this is in Maryland. And
this is in Maryland. Yeah. I had the surgery. I just didn't mention it before. I mean, this is on the time period where I'm healing from the anorexia.
Yes.
I think it was before I had the anorexia, because I know it was like on that same time period, because I didn't move to Florida until I graduated in 90, and I didn't come to Florida till about 96.
So I'm not familiar with the nodules. Was that caused by the anorexia, or how did you?
No. That was caused from cheerleading.
From screaming.
Yeah, when you're a cheerleader, like we had games. Like I was a cheerleader all year round in school, so it came from like years of cheerleading. My whole high school, I was pretty much a cheerleader for almost 3.5 years, and then not having proper training. Like I would, sing with Prince. So it was just a build up, and then. Waitressing, you have to constantly talk, when you're waitressing, and then it's loud in restaurants, so you're like talk. So it was just the ear, nose, and throat doctor said it was just probably a combination of everything that built up over those years. And
so your early days of singing was your training in singing. Was you singing in your room? You said you.
Yeah. I never had any training. I mean, I did musical theater in college, and I got. Yeah. And actually, my musical theater teacher, Mike Harsh, he and I are friends on Facebook. And when he saw what I'm doing now, he was so nice and encouraging. So, he's still in my life as far as, on Facebook. Mm-hmm. And I think he's still the theater teacher. It was called Hagerstown Junior College at the time. So
what I'm getting, Amy Barbera, first off of, of all the things that have happened, but the underlying is you're a good friend. Once you become a friend, you're a friend for life.
Yeah, at my high school, I'm still friends with my best friend, and I still have another friend, Susie, that I was even friends with in middle school and high school. We're still friends, and a lot of my high school, I'm still, Facebook friends with most of the high school people I went to, and then my teachers, of course, Mike Harsh, he was I don't know how we got connected. I think he might have found me or something. And he was so encouraging. And he said, well, if you ever want to come back and maybe do a show at the theater, that was a long time ago when we first connected. So
high school was a good experience. College, you studied psychology. Did you end up finishing that?
No, I went to the Hagerstown Junior College. I did 2 years and graduated. And that was a wonderful experience. That's where I did the musical theater. And
sure.
that I just did. And then I went to study psychology.
Sure.
And I was there for 2 years, and my psychology professor was really sad, but it was a decision I made to leave. It was at Shepherdstown College in Shepherd, Maryland, or Virginia. I can't remember where it was, but and then when I decided to save the money, that I decided to leave, and then that's when we went to the Art Institute. So I finished the Art Institute. So I basically have 2 associate's degrees.
So what kind of a degree can you get at the Art Institute, or did you get at the Art Institute?
I got a fashion degree. Fashion.
That's like a blanketing degree, it seems like.
Yeah. So, but that when I moved to Florida, I gave my life to the Lord. I was watching the Christian channel, and then I met immediately, like the first few months of being in Florida, watching the Christian channel, and there's my pastor. You know, they had some little commercials on the TBN with local churches, and he had advertised, and he was in my area. It was a small church called Living Word Fellowship. Oh. And I went there and gave my life to Jesus that day, because I was already like looking, like I was always watching the ministers, and they prayed over me and they said, "You're anointed to sing for the Lord." I mean, I already knew that, but it was like they confirmed I was anointed to sing.
Yeah.
So it was just God right away. Like that was my calling. And so Pastor Tony asked me if I would sing for one of the services. This is like a month into giving my life to the Lord. So I decided to learn Amazing Grace. That time I didn't have any original songs or anything. And I was so scared. I'm like in the prayer room with Patty, and she's praying over me. And I was so scared. And then all of a sudden I was shaking like a leaf, and I went out and I sang, and everybody was crying. They're like, "You're anointed to sing for the Lord." Yeah. And the associate pastor, Pastor Mike, came over. He was crying because it was like the anointing. He's like, "You're anointed to sing for God." So they put me up as a worship leader right away. I knew, like, a lot of times when people give their life to the Lord, they don't know, they don't know, well, what is my real purpose, And it was like instant for me, they put me up as a lead worship leader. So I was like singing solos and leading worship every week for like 5 years. I was young, I was in my early 20s at the time. Yeah. So that was my first. So not only did I have the destiny of coming to Florida for the Art Institute, but I also had, at the same time I was going there, I was doing the music thing. But when I graduated from the Art Institute, I said, I really want to focus 100% on my music. So I worked at a bank and, worked little odd jobs, but I've always pursued my music. So this is something that it's been going on for like 20 some years. It's not something where it's been a process.
Well,
and I wrote my first song with my worship leader, Tim Jack. He was the main worship leader at the time.
Sweet.
So we wrote Flowers in My Garden together in 1998. Well, I recorded my first original song.
Excellent. Well, being a Christian has been a big part of your life. In the early days, your contact with Christianity, was that mostly from Grandma?
From Grandma and my mom too. My mom would always talk about Jesus, but it wasn't anything that it was just like, I didn't have a relationship with God. It wasn't anything, Now when I was a little girl and I would get sad sometimes, or if I was upset, I would sleep with Jesus' picture. My mom had a little picture of Jesus.
Did you go to church every Sunday with Mom and Grandma?
My grandma was a Methodist. Okay. I was a part of the Methodist church.
I'm not sure what that is differently.
It's like a it's like a Presbyterian. There's different, like there's Baptist with Methodist, but there was a lot of older people there. But I grew up in church. Okay. It wasn't like, it was just something you did as a kid. When your family goes to church, you go to church.
Sure.
It wasn't a personal relationship, with God. I even had an atheist professor when I went to the Hagerstown Junior College.
Yeah.
And at that time, I didn't know God, and he had everybody do an assignment, why there isn't a God. And I remember many people.
That's very telling, why there isn't a God.
Yes, you had to do we had to do a report. And at that time I wasn't a believer, and I went to church, but it wasn't. But there were people that were Christians, serious Christians in that class, that were infuriated. And they walked out. And so, like, at that time, I didn't understand, why are they getting so mad? He's just having us do an assignment.
Right.
But now I understand, because if I would have been where I am now, and then he's telling everybody, he had a book that he wrote, and he wanted everybody to read it, and, and surprisingly enough, his wife was actually a believer, and his daughter, and they went to, of course, I didn't go to the charismatic churches there, but he wrote for the local paper, the Hagerstown paper, and he would write about his atheism. So that was isn't that funny? But he was one of my professors in college, and I forget even what it was. He wanted everybody to not believe in God. How most people want people to believe in God. He was kind of the opposite.
Well, he was preaching the atheism.
He was preaching the atheism, and it was just, I just remember people walking out of the class infuriated and refusing to want to do because that was one of his things to grade you, and I couldn't understand it, but now I see,
Yeah, you have perspective of hindsight.
Yeah, but at that time, so that was like an experience. But when I gave my life to the Lord, it was like right away I started singing, and
Well,
and
you've said gave your life to the Lord several times, and I'm not sure exactly what that means. That means you get baptized, I guess.
yeah, you
What year
give your
was
heart.
this?
This was in '96. I was pretty much immediately the first 6 months I was in Florida. It
Okay.
was like God, I would watch the Christian channel. I saw Pastor Tony on TV, went to the church, and then it was like right away.
So you went to a certain church and hit you like lightning, like
Yeah, it was
God comes into your heart and says, "Hey, you're working for me now."
Yeah, it was just instant. It was like I can't even explain it. It's like
Yeah.
a knowing, like a relationship with God. It's not like a religion where you just go to church or you go to church with your grandma or whatever.
Okay.
So,
So you really wanted to go to church. You really wanted to be a part of this.
and it was something I pursued myself, and I started leading worship. I had to learn all kinds of, the Hillsong singers. I don't know if you're familiar with Hillsong.
Yes, I'm familiar.
Yes, and that time they were very small. They weren't like they are now, where they're massive, where they're like $1 billion music thing.
I think back at that time they were going to a lot of tent revivals and really just doing some small. They were touring, though.
Came. I remember because they came to a couple small churches in our area. Darlene Check was her name. So I was learning like all the Darlene Check songs, All Things Are Possible. And they had me sing Come to the Father, all these songs that I would be singing every week. But I never had my own songs. And then my pastor, they would always encourage me. And Pastor Tim Jack was a songwriter. He was divorced, but he used to tour back, before I was, I think in the 80s and 70s, he would tour with his wife and they would do like big worship concerts. And he was a songwriter. And so God had given me a gift when I gave my life to the Lord to start songwriting. I had a book. I still have the same book, and I would write out lyrics and melodies would come to me.
You mean like a notebook?
Yeah, a notebook. And it just lyrics would come, poems would come, or sometimes melodies would come. And I wrote Flowers in My Garden with Tim Jack in 1998. We did our first song. And then he had me record. We did a worship CD with our church, with all the worship. In a little studio here in Florida. I believe it was one of the big studios at that time. I can't remember what it was called. Okay. But our worship team recorded, and at that time it was even before CD. This is back in 97. This is like kind of on the border between CD. So I actually have the original tape of the worship CD that we did with our church. I had like two solo songs on that CD. Like he picked, like I was a soprano. So that was my first experience actually recording, professionally. And then we recorded my song at another studio with I guess Tim Jack knew some studio people at that time.
And the first song was what?
Called Flowers in My Garden. It's actually on my first album too, and the Beautiful Flower of Life that was released in 2007. But I redid it with my main producer, Ben Bagby, who I've worked with the last 20-some years. So when I met him, we redid the song in a more modern, because Tim and I did it in 1998, and it was a beautiful song, but, the music was kind of, it was different sound. So Ben, we redid the whole song, re-recorded, and the re-recorded version is on my first album.
So what's the song about?
Just flowers in my garden, just like comparing your life to like a flower garden, like that you'll just be just fine. Like, because in the wintertime, the flowers die. It's a like kind of an inspirational song about just you'll survive. Flowers in my garden will be just fine. I can't remember because it's been so long. But just, and I have it on my first album. I don't know if you have my first album because I think when we first interviewed, I only had my first album out at the time.
I'm sure I have some of the singles. And I don't think I have the Flowers in your garden, but
I mean, I can send it.
Oh, that's fine. Yeah, I'd be happy to play it. Now,
this is something it has an R&B feel to it. It's a lot different than a lot of my songs. The way we did the song.
Now, this is something that you don't sing anymore because you say you don't remember it that well.
Yeah, it's something that the thing is the songs that I normally sing are my like Make Me a Butterfly, I mean, like every artist has an album and they have their main songs. Like Lady Gaga has her main hit songs, and then she has the filler songs. So you'll hear her album and you'll know, wow, 4 of her songs and there were big hits on the radio, and then other ones. So it's like there's like on my first album, there's like maybe 4 or 5 songs that I sing live all the time when I do perform, and then there's other ones that are fillers, which I should probably sing them. I mean, I think I sang it maybe once live, but it's not something I do consistently live.
No,
but I should, because it's actually the way Ben reproduced it.
Sure.
It's very R&B, and I don't consider myself an R&B gospel type singer.
Okay.
Although I could do it. I have a song called Electric Church. I think you even have that one.
I have
on
that one for sure.
That one is like gospel. That one I've sang live maybe once, but there's a lot of things that go on at the end where I'd have to do all this embellishment stuff. So I don't really, but I mean, Flowers in My Garden, I'll send it to you.
Okay.
For sure.
Now, previous to moving to Florida, you were in musical theater. Did you do a lot of performances as a solo artist, in the theater? Or did you do a lot of performances?
I had a couple. Well, this was in college. I had a couple. We did a play called The Mystery of Edwin Drood.
Sure.
So, and I auditioned. I sang. Well, when I was a little girl, I sang My Favorite Things from The Sound of Music, and I won. I won a talent show in my whole elementary school when I was little.
Were you able to sing that one by heart?
I was little. I sang My Favorite Things, and I dressed, and I had little props. Like I did this whole little show with a little pink dress, and My Favorite Things you talk about, raindrops on red. Yeah. So I did all this move, and I actually won the whole entire show. This is when I was a child. And yes, and I won money.
What?
Because it was only like $10 or $20, but they had this piggy bank.
Yeah.
Piggy bank and they had it shaped like a pig on a big piece of construction board, and they taped down like a whole bunch of quarters and money, and that was what you won. And for a little kid, I don't remember what age. I know I was in elementary, so that was kind of like God showing me, at a very early age that I had something special vocally, but I didn't have confidence. I was so happy when I won that. That was like a big thing. In theater, when I auditioned, my theater teacher saw something in me too with my voice. At that time, I wasn't like trained or anything.
Yeah.
And I auditioned with.
So the training you were doing was in your room, singing to Prince.
In my room. Yes, and I sang "You Don't Bring Me Flowers," which I love singing that song live by Barbara Streisand. Neil Diamond. Yeah, I'd sing that, and I did that, and I got one of the lead roles, not the main lead, but I got the character. It was an Indian character. I forget what her name was in there. They had to paint my skin brown and everything. Oh, okay. So I did have solos in that particular play, but I wasn't like the lead singer. Like there was 2 ladies. And I wasn't like I am now. Like if it would be totally different. And Mike Harsh, and it's funny because Mike Harsh told me, I didn't like acting. So the hard part for me was the acting. He said, if you just sing, just act like you're singing. Because when you sing, you're like, you're very theatrical. You're very, emotional. So that was the hard thing for me. But the crazy thing is when they released that play, yes, the Hagerstown newspaper did an article.
Uh-huh.
And my scene was, and I still have the clip of that, my scene of me singing on the stage was the one that they used in the paper. And it's funny because I was not a lead.
Wow, and Amy Barbera.
Isn't that fun? And they even had Amy Barbera. I think my character's name was Hannah or something, or it started with an H, Havana or whatever.
Sure.
So I think that's interesting though, that God had that happen. I have the clip actually in my drawer.
Hey, all right.
And so, they could have picked any scene. They could have picked the main lead lady because she was in every single scene, and she was an amazing singer. She was a red-haired lady. I can't remember her name. So it was like throughout my life, between the winning of the talent show and these little things, God was trying to show me that's your calling or your gift that He's given me. But it wasn't until I gave my life to the Lord and I really knew what my real gift purpose was. Because, you can use your God gives us all gifts. But my gift could be to sing, but I would sing on Broadway. But that's not my purpose. My purpose is to sing inspirational music, to make a difference for the kingdom of God. And so if I would have maybe had my purpose revealed to me earlier and without knowing God, I might have gone in a different direction. You know?
Before this,
and,
you were serving at Pizza Hut and other,
and
other
I was
serving
in
jobs.
college. Yeah, and it wasn't anything. So I did experience some, and in high school I was in the choir, and even in middle school and stuff. But I never was considered like a great singer or the soloist, or I never really went out for any of the. It wasn't until college.
So no solos in the choir then.
No, it was only till college when I auditioned, and then we did one of the other, not Grease, but one of those plays like that, and I was one of the bebop girls or whatever. So that was kind of my experience. It wasn't until I went to Living Word Fellowship where I had the solos and stuff.
That's in Florida, you say?
That's in Florida, and that's when I knew I was meant to. They gave me a prophecy. I think it was, I don't remember. Somebody came in the church that I was meant to write songs, and so that's when I started. Like Tim Jack encouraged me. I did the Flowers in My Garden, and then I started to do more songs over a period of from 98 to 2007.
So the reason to go to Florida was the Art Institute?
Well, the Art Institute, and just to kind of, because I grew up in a small town, there's nothing for music and art in Hagerstown.
Sure.
There are bands. I have friends from high school, like Eric Steigerwald. He did a rock band, and he plays in local places all around there. But not like, it's not like going to Florida or New York or even California. You know what I mean? Where there's opportunity and it's different.
No, you definitely went to the right place. Fort Lauderdale, in South Florida, for that matter, is a pretty good place to be an artist.
Yeah, and even the weather too. Was like I don't know why I chose God. I must have chose me to come there, but it was instantly. Everything happened for me so fast.
Okay. So what did you do with the fashion degree from the Art Institute?
I still have it, but the funny thing now is that I get I am a thrift store fanatic. That's another thing that I have a passion for, is thrifting. Everything I wear is from thrift stores.
Cool.
And I've been wanting to do, I started Amy's Thrift Store Guitar when I first was on Facebook. I have a little photo album of it. And I have kind of a vision of maybe doing something with thrifting one day, maybe online so I still have the gift of fashion, but I use it in a different way, and I like to go thrifting, and I find very expensive clothes. So everything that you see and that I wear, or even in my new music video, which that's the big thing that's going on now with my music video, is all thrift. And so I've taken my fashion degree and incorporated it into my music through my, the way I market myself as an artist.
You're always very colorful. I always admire that. There's no all black for Miss Amy Barbera. That's for sure. It's all just colors and flowing clothes, and it's very angelic. And there's no other word for it. It's just very flowing, and I know that puts a mental image in the listeners' ears, and they can.
Yeah, and I like the creativeness. And my favorite artist of all time is Prince.
Yes.
So I actually. I like him because he was an overall artist, not just he was a musical genius, but he had his own image, his own style, and I would tend to like artists more like that, who are like complete artists, they're not like a cookie cutter where they just have an image of a girl and she's doing somebody else's song. I've always gravitated towards like artists that are singer-songwriters that are creative, that have their own image about them, and that's why it was kind of an influence on me as an artist, even though I'm not anywhere near as gifted as Prince. He plays 25 instruments.
Exactly.
I don't play.
I was just thinking of that. From what I understand, growing up, he just locked himself in his room and played every instrument that he could get a hold of. Now, do you play any instruments at all?
No, I do not. I actually just sing. I wish I did. My grandma had me.
Just sing. You sing.
Sing, and then God gives me melodies. But you know what? One of the biggest songwriters right now. I don't know if you know Sia.
Yes.
She's not doesn't play either, but she just has a gift with I can sit down with Ben, my producer, and sing a whole melody.
Now, what's with Sia not wanting to show her face? Is that a thing?
Yeah, she doesn't. Yeah, she doesn't like to show her face because she's, I guess she gets very stage fright or whatever. Okay. But she started out writing for other people.
Well, Charlie Daniels did the same thing. He put his hat over his eyes so he wouldn't see anybody. but very,
Really?
yeah. I think
It is.
a lot of people do.
Yeah, and Adele gets very nervous. Adele is another one. I love her because she writes all of her own songs, and she's very nervous, like me. Like she gets really nervous. Like I don't throw up or anything before I go out on stage, but I saw her on an interview before she won the Grammy when she was on like 2020, and she said she gets so nervous she like really gets sick.
So when you're singing in front of people, you don't take your long black curly hair and put it in front of your face and.
No, but I am very nervous. So it's being called to sing and it's an amazing gift, and so many people are like, you're so blessed. But also at the same time, you're up there on the stage, and you only get that one opportunity. Like if you're an actor, when you're doing a film, take one, take two, take three, you're behind the scenes, and then your movie comes out. But for a singer, like especially like Adele and those people when they go on tour, I mean, it's just one shot and they mess up, so it's kind of scary. And so I've battled with the last few years, well, not now, but when I first started, about what direction I should go. Should I just be completely Christian? Should I? And now in my life, I definitely want to stick with just doing for the Lord, Although I did a song for my fiance TC, we got engaged this year.
Hey, all right. Love is a wonderful thing.
Called My Sweet Pea, and I did it in the old nostalgic style, and that was his idea. He was watching these American Idol artists that a lot of the people that were in American Idol, they came together and they created a band, and I can't remember what they're called, and they tour, and they take old songs, like they take pop songs like Lady Gaga, yes, and they do it in like an old nostalgic 1940s, 1950s, 1930s feel. And he was like really looking at them on YouTube. This is like years ago.
I think I've seen them on YouTube or at least one of the groups. I think there's several. Yeah.
One of the girls, Holly, and TC came to me and said, you should do a song like that. And the next morning, I'm in the shower, and it just came to me. And I haven't released it yet because there's been so much going on with my video and stuff.
Sure.
And I did that because he encouraged me to do that, and because it's a song about him. I don't want it to, I want it to be cutesy, on my sweet pea. So that's something I did, and that's not really a direction I'm going to go in, but it's just something that I did for our wedding or whatever. Yeah. But like, I had written so many songs over a period from 1998 to 2006. And I worked with a wonderful teacher named Norma Mendoza. I love her. She's one of my amazing voice teachers. And she encouraged me, you need to release an album. Because I had all these songs sitting there. And she had me do like a vision board. And I'd go to her every week. And sure enough, and a year after working with Norma Mendoza, I released my first album in 2007 or 2008, now, June of 2008. Beautiful Flower Bloom.
Previous to this, where did you have your songs put up?
I had a few on MySpace.
Okay.
I had started a MySpace page, God, back in the day.
Yeah, I still got 11,000 friends on MySpace. I'm not giving it up.
Yeah, I still do. I'm still on MySpace, and I still keep it up to date. And people are liking my stuff. I might have like 10 likes on a post or 5 likes. And I even had a couple messages when I went on there. But I try, even though I don't know how to use it, I don't really go on much. I still keep it up to date, sure, so that it matches. Because I have the icon on my website, and I want everything to, I don't want to look like I'm neglecting one site. So I still, you want to like keep everything formatted. But I released that, but I had like Flowers in My Garden, and I had God's Special Angel. And God's Special Angel is a song I wrote for sick and handicapped children. And I used to travel to children's hospitals. This is before really internet days. I think I might have just started MySpace. So I had this song that God gave me that I worked with Oz Marlin. He was believe it or not, he was an atheist. Okay. And we worked. I was a Christian. He was an atheist, but he was an amazing musician. He went to school in California for guitar, and we wrote God's Special Angel together. I brought the lyrics, and he wrote the song. And it's so funny because he was an atheist, and he was so amazing in my life because he's the one who taught me how to copyright songs. He also got me set up on BMI. Like, he actually got me on my journey to the music business side of things. And even though we were of different faiths, We did one of my Christmas songs together. What the World Needs Is Love at Christmas Time. And that even used the word Jesus in it.
Sure.
Which is hysterical because he's an atheist and he was from Turkey. You know, he was an atheist. He wasn't Muslim. He didn't even like the Muslim faith.
I don't think he's going to catch on fire if he says Jesus.
But I told him one day, I told him a long time ago he was going to give his life to the Lord. You know, I said one day, he even wanted a cross necklace because he was a rocker guy, like a rocker. And
Sure.
so that was that was another song I did with him. And I worked with a guy named Munster Tax, Jason Klein, who he's my accountant now, but we work together. He did my taxes, but he's also an amazing producer in Miami. He goes by Munster Taxi.
Munster Taxi. Okay, shout out.
I was on his dance album. We did a dance version of Amazing Grace. We did 5 different. This is going back even before my first album. So I was recording all these songs.
Late 90s, early 2000s then?
Yeah, and even then I met Ben. Through Jason Klein and Rachel Panay. I was working with them, and Rachel moved away, and she connected me with Ben, who's now been my main music producer for 20 years, and I love him, and he's amazing. And when I met Norma and started training with her, and she said, I really feel like you should get an album out, and she got me really thinking about it, and we did a vision board, and that's when I took it serious. So my grandma passed away in December of 2007, and I sang at her funeral. I sang "Make Me a Butterfly" and "Amazing Grace" at her funeral.
Beautiful.
And I had a little bit of an inheritance from when she passed, and so I used that money to do my album, to release my album the following June. She passed in December of 2007, and then I released "A Beautiful Flower Life" in June of 2008, and we had a nice CD release party, and it was a beautiful party. I did a whole concert, and so that was kind of my journey with my first album. It was just I had so many songs that I'd record here and I'd record there, and so by the time I did an album, time to release the album, I had a bunch of songs already recorded, and then Ben and I just did a few extras. So
now, you put that out as an actual album.
An actual album, and "Make Me a Butterfly" was on there too.
With what company what label did you use?
I did it all independent.
Oh.
And I did "Make Me a Butterfly" with a gentleman named Jim Wallman, who's great too. I love him. He doesn't live here. He lives in Texas now. But Ben had to go away as a producer. He was because he's been on Broadway. Ben does everything. So he got a contract with Royal Caribbean to do the music direction and also be in the musicals on the ship. So he was going away for 6 months to a year. Yeah. And I had given him all my Christmas money to work on everything. And he gave me all the money back. He said, "It's not fair for me to not pay you back because I might not be here." So that's when I met Jim Wallman, and him and I did "Make Me a Butterfly" together.
And you did all the pressing and the distribution yourself?
Everything myself.
How
I went through
copies?
I had like 1,000 copies.
Ooh.
and then I did the digital online, and then we had a party. So I had maybe 50 to 670 people there at a party, and so
Where was the
that
party?
was kind of it was at a French restaurant in Margate called La Vie en Rose. It was beautiful. They had it decorated, and they closed down during the day. So for people to have parties there, to have like wedding showers, because it was very beautiful with roses and French. A lot of women would want to have their wedding showers or baby showers. So I had the whole entire restaurant. They had a little stage in the front. Ben and Craig did backup. And we had a fully catered, almost like a wedding, where everybody got food, and it was just beautiful. I didn't have to worry about decorating, and we had a little table set up. So it was it was really beautiful. That was my first. When I release an album, I want to do it the right way, And then I also minister to a lot of people. I had people come from out of town.
Sure.
Eugene came, and my friend Tim Wire came. And it was just really, because I talked about Jesus, and people were really touched. And there wasn't a dry eye in the house. People at every table were it's not, because they said it was so anointed. I don't know. I guess whatever. But so that was my journey. And then in between these years is when I've worked on some singles and some Christmas songs and some dance remixes. And then 2015 is when I said, I think I'm ready to do another. It's just very exhausting when you do an album.
No, it sounds like it. And I know a lot of bands, you see all these bands that have put out these really great first albums, and then the second album has to be released right away. As far as these big production companies, they want you to put, and they don't realize it took you years to make that first album. How are you going to put out the same kind of energy into another album just 1 or 2 years later? So
yeah, and that's true. Because even Adele, I don't know if you noticed the pattern with her. She'll put out an amazing album, win everything, and then she's gone for 5 years.
Right.
Like right now, she's not even doing. I think she had some vocal cord stuff.
Oh.
When she was touring, she had some vocal cord injury stuff,
Get
so
well,
she had to
Adele.
start. But Adele, you remember when she did her first album, it blew up, she won everything, and then all of a sudden for 5 years you didn't hear a peep from her, and everybody's like, "Where's Adele?" And then out of nowhere she comes out with "Hello,"
Right.
you know. But it was like 5 or 6 years. She took a break. She said it was so exhausting. She took a break. Plus, she had a baby.
Yes.
You know, and then she blew up. That album won everything, and now she's gone. She doesn't even barely post on Instagram. Like and I understand
Taking care of
because
that baby.
the baby, and also her voice. She had.
Yeah.
So it's very tedious, and even on a small level, like I am. Because I work a part-time job,
Sure.
and I have TC, and my parents. My mom is very sick. I take care of my sick mom, and I have my dog.
Yeah.
And there's so much. I'm so exhausted all the time.
But you have a life. It's a
you have a life. And one of my jobs before the job I had now, I worked part-time, but I was able to get off because I made a little bit more money. I was able to get off at like 1 or 2 in the afternoon, and that was wonderful because you had those afternoons, and I had Fridays. So I'm really praying I can get back to that, or maybe even not have to work at all, because it's so much when you're trying to do so much, and now my mom is not well.
Oh, sorry, Mama.
She's to the point where she doesn't even get out of bed. So I try to go over at least once or twice a week, and I was bathing her and helping,
Oh, she's in Fort Lauderdale as well.
She lives right around the corner from me.
Hey, that's great.
But, it's so much because you're trying to balance so many things. And I'm, taking some time to help my mom. But it's a lot. I just remember when I did these other albums and other songs, I just remember having so much more peace and so much more time.
Sure.
So I've been praying for God for time, believe it or not, just to have this time, because I don't want to be so exhausted. And I think also because at that time I only had one social media page.
Yes.
I just started, I think at the time I released, I had just started Facebook when I released Beautiful Flower of Life. I only had MySpace. Now I have like 20 different sites I'm on, but a lot of them, like I'm on SoundCloud, but I rarely go on. But I have to maintain Instagram and Twitter and 2 Facebook pages and my website. It's very tedious, even though people don't realize it. Oh, and even on my website, because every time I have to do put up news or put up a post or even put something new on my slideshow, I have to size everything. And then when you do interviews and stuff, I create all my own flyers. So I do all those flyers and advertisements I do myself. I don't have other people do my website. I don't have it. So it takes up time. And I think back then it was more simple because I had maybe 1 or 2 social media, but it wasn't like now,
Sure. Well, a lot of people are streamlining. They really are. And a lot of the, I know that I only have Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, those 4. And a lot of people have just even streamlined just to Instagram because it's so much easier, and you get the point across in a picture and a little blurb at the bottom.
Well, yeah, see, and I do that. I just put up some news on Instagram last night, but I haven't put it up anywhere else.
Sure.
I made it on my music videos, and we'll talk about that in a minute, but
yeah,
because it's very draining.
Yeah,
it's very draining because I think. So I feel so drained all the time, and I have no time,
You're doing it all yourself. A lot,
all myself, and
major artists have a team. People don't realize that.
I have a wonderful team that helps me, on my photo shoots, and Ben with my production and everything.
Yeah, who's taking your pictures? Because you have a lot of amazing pictures.
I've worked with so many great people. Yanni DeMello, he's so amazing. He did my second album, Breath of Angels, the one that's the healing meditation album. I worked with Xander Brandt filmed my music video, but he's also a photographer. God, who else did I work with? Lisa Corinne. I'm trying to think of all my photographers. Jamie did some of my photos. Oh, the guy who did all my Jesus Set Me Free to photos. What is his? How come I can't even remember his name? Oh, I can't even think of his name now, and he's so amazing.
Well, I look at your Instagram and your social media, and there's hardly ever a selfie. It's all somebody taking your picture. Yeah.
Yeah, Lori Garner, I love her. She just gave her life to the Lord, and she wrote me on Instagram. She did those beautiful photos of me on the beach with like the red dress, and how come I can't remember the guy that did my Jesus Set Me Free to Fly? And he's so amazing. And
it'll come to you.
It'll come to me. So there's so many great photographers that I've worked with. Yeah. April Ancelona is my art director, and she is at all my shoots, all my video shoots. But we've done shoots together where just with a little plain camera, we did the Asian look and some of the other looks. But I do
have a lot of looks, and that's pretty cool. That does that come from your theater background?
The creativity, yeah. I want to be creative and stuff. Like I love when how Lady Gaga was and certain artists are, where they do all these different looks and stuff. Yeah, for different, like whenever I have a song, I want like a different look or a different like style, and
no, it adds flavor to the feel of whatever you're singing. Now that's. Yeah, it's really cool. Yeah, I like your style, and it's all colorful. Like I said, there's hardly any blacks in there. All dark colors. It's flowers and flowing and butterflies and just patterns. I really admire it.
I tend to gravitate towards like doing that type of thing with nature. I tend to have. Oh, Ken Henson is the one. I just put him up on Instagram.
There you go. See,
he is amazing. He doesn't live here anymore. He lives in California, I believe.
That's friend the place Robin, he ought to be. California.
Yeah, he did the Jesus Set Me Free to Fly with the blue dress. We actually did that right on the beach at sunset. Oh, and Eddie Perez. He's the original one for a lot of my photos on my first album, him and Jamie Allen. Eddie Perez goes back from when I was at the Art Institute. So they're all coming to me as like I'm, working. But so then I did my second album. Yanni DeMello did the photos, and April did the illustration on the album. And I released that because I was taking a yoga class at the time, and I was under a lot of stress. And I was laying there, and I was working on like a kind of a Christian pop album. I was going to call it "Paint Me a Rainbow," which is like my dance song. And I have all these songs that are still sitting there that I never released from that.
Well, the first album took. You had how many songs on there?
I had 12 or 13. I think
that
13.
Started from '98 all the way to 2007 to compile all those songs.
And then I released into 2008 because I released 2007 into 2008 because I released that in 2008.
Sure.
So I just had a collection of songs that I recorded, and then in between there I've been recording and then doing Christmas songs. But then I was in this class and I was so stressed out, and we almost felt like you're in therapy because the teacher, his name was Craig.
What class?
He'd be like a yoga class. It was it wasn't like yoga where the religious side of yoga. It was like I went to like a yoga studio and you just breathe, and he would talk and he would say, now let the love of God, fill your heart. And he was like, don't worry, because like everything in our life, we're always having to like you go to your job and you always have to be perfect at your job. You always feel like, you always have to have that. I'm doing the best at my job. I mean, in the yoga class, he's like, just be you. You don't have to worry if you're not doing the stretches perfect. And I remember just crying and crying and crying because it was a place like a release type place.
Sure.
And God spoke to my heart to do a healing meditation album.
Oh.
So that's how that came about, because I was going in a completely different direction. And then I said, I have all these songs that I can have do like a meditation type song, like the pretty music and just like you can hear. So that my original intent was to take all my already released songs and make them into like healing meditation remixes, kind of like doing a dance remix.
Oh, okay.
But as I was doing the album, we did like the healing song, which is completely about Jesus, and it has the scripture The Lord will restore you to health, and He will heal all your wounds. We did a meditation remix of that, and of Make Me a Butterfly, and different songs. But then new song ideas came about. I worked with Denny Tate and Yaron Cohen, which they're both amazing. Yaron is from Israel, and I love working. We just released a little song, Flower,
Cool.
which is, we did that like a month ago. But, and then Denny, who's amazing, he produced most of my second album. And Ben helped, but Denny did most of the remixing and stuff. He had a gift for that.
Now,
So I
you're
decided to call
producing these. Oh, go ahead. You decided to call that what?
Well, I like would give Denny ideas about what direction, or I'd give him melodies. Like we'd send him melodies of me singing like Breath of Angels, and then he would create the music around the new song. Like Breath of Angels was a brand new song, which is the title of my album too. And I think I sent that one to you.
Now, did you record? You recorded the first album. Where did you record that one?
With Ben at his studio.
With Ben at his studio in Fort Lauderdale.
And some of it with Jim Wallman too at his studio.
Okay.
Yeah. And then with the second album, I recorded all the new songs with Ben, and then we'd send all the files off to to Denny Tate for him to do the meditation remixes. And then the songs that are already pre-recorded for my old album, we would give him the vocals, and then he'd do a whole new mix of it.
Wow.
So it's kind of like an album, like we took songs that I already did and new songs, and we did just very meditation-y remixes. So I wanted it to be a very relaxing album. But I closed the album out with a meditation remix of Paint Me a Rainbow, which has it speeds up, so it closes the album and it makes it more fun. It's like not so, because the whole album is like you have to basically be sleeping, or it's very relaxing, and then it closes with a kind of a slight dance song, which people told me people said they liked that.
Yeah.
I opened the album with Breath of Angels. The second song, Flying, is beautiful. That's the one that I sing a lot live.
Yeah.
From the second album. And that one, people have come up to me and said that should be in a movie, like a scene of a movie.
Now, where's Denny's studio at?
Denny lives in Chicago area, I think.
So you just sent your stuff up to him,
and
gave him the direction. Hey, I want to have a meditation album.
Yeah, Ben sent all the files. He sent all the vocal files, and then if we had music, from the song,
sure.
That sometimes when they do remixes, they use the music, but they remix it different.
Wow.
Then I would send him, and like with Breath of Angels, we sent him the vocals of me singing the melody. So he had the melody.
Yes.
And he didn't have to create any melody or anything, but he had to create music around. He did such a great job. I mean, I love Denny with all my heart. And
that
he's
sounds like
just
a very talented man there, yeah.
Very talented, and he's just so nice. He's just so nice to work with. So I released that album in 2015, and I actually did a big CD release party. It was like a wedding, bigger than my first one. I had it fully catered, and I did a whole concert, and it was just.
Where at?
And after that, I was exhausted.
No, go back to the party. Where was the party?
The party was at a church, actually.
Neat.
It was a Methodist church, believe it or not, by my house. And my pastors at the time, they're no longer here. They moved to North Carolina. So I didn't really have like a home church at the time, because they moved away. They have their church up there now in the Carolinas. And the pastor at the Methodist church, it's the Coral Springs Methodist, was so nice. He came from the charismatic movement, so he understood, and I really liked him. And they had a separate church hall. They had a little temple connected to their big, where people could have parties, or they had small ministries. And I just rented it out. I think they only charged me like a couple $100. It was beautiful. And they remodeled the whole entire thing as we were planning the party. Like they were thinking, I don't know if you can use that. And I had a lady named Marlene do all the decorating. We did it like in Moroccan, like with the pretty lotus flowers and candles and stuff. And I had the stage. You've probably seen my stuff. I'm in that beautiful blue Indian looking gown.
Yeah,
I was very creative, and I had a big cross on the front of the stage. It had a big stage, so I was able to do a full concert. And so it was really amazing. It was just so much work. So it's like, and at that time I was working as well, so it's like, I'd like to do another album, but it's like, oh my gosh, the thought, and I want to do a full Christmas album. So that's another thing. But what I decided to do, and this is what I'm going to talk about what I'm doing now,
Sure.
is with my Make Me a Butterfly music video, we had recorded that over a period of a couple years.
When
the
was
video.
this?
I think between 2016 and 18, we filmed in different locations, as you see in the video. They were all filmed on separate days, in different locations. The graveyard scene was not my idea. My art director, April Ancelona, said, the song, you need to tell a story in the song. So he said, you shouldn't be, the song is going to be happy the whole rest of the song. So you have to share, you're telling the story. And it worked. We originally filmed on the railroad tracks for that scene, and I just wasn't happy with the footage. And April's like, why don't we do it like at a graveyard? But we wanted it to be beautiful, not scary, because I'm not into that. And we found it at Palm Beach. That's the old vintage graveyard. And we filmed during the day. It was absolutely gorgeous out. I think it was like 75 degrees. It was like, we got there at like 11 o'clock in the morning. And we filmed both scenes, me in the black dress and the thing. And it works. And then we decided to keep it in black and white and then transition into the Enchanted Forest scene and then into the beach scene. And I got really blessed through the whole process of filming, because the last scene we were going to film on a public beach. And my friend Tara's like, no, you're not filming on a public beach. I have a friend that is a dog sitter it's called Highland Beach Mansions in Fort. It's one of the richest areas of, this area, called Highland Beach.
Sure.
Where all rich people live, where all the big mansions on the beach are. And my friend sitters for this lady's dog, and she's remodeling her mansion on Highland Beach. And I'll talk to him and see if they'll give us access to the property. And sure enough, the house was in totally remodeling state, but we didn't need to use the house. We needed to use the beach. And then they had a pool, which we didn't plan on using the pool, but so we got access. And the cool thing about that is they had in the back, because, rich people have a lot of things. They had a big outdoor cooking area with a refrigerator. So we were there 8 hours filming. So we got to eat, we got to put our food in the refrigerator, and, it was like, and we had this beautiful private mansion with this beautiful private mansion pool and the whole beach to ourselves to film. And I had the vision of using a butterfly kite.
Yes.
And, I knew, of course, you can't have butterflies on the beach. I wanted to do, purchase butterflies. You can purchase butterfly release, but then people are like, no, don't do that to the butterflies, because they can't survive on the beach.
Oh.
They have to be, if you're going to do a butterfly release, you should do it in an area with greenery and stuff so they can survive.
Oh, okay.
But
Well,
the
that's a
really
good
strange,
tip.
the really strange thing about the butterfly thing is when my grandma died in 2007, that when I came back from her funeral, there was a little butterfly, Grace. Well, I called her Grace. Her name wasn't Grace at the time. Who was at the dumpster when we took the trash down.
Yes.
A little butterfly's wing had flown off. I don't remember if you remember my little butterfly, Grace.
I don't.
So I took care of her for a month. She couldn't fly anymore. And it became a sensation on MySpace. People, because I would post about this butterfly. And I called a butterfly farm here in Florida, and they said, once a butterfly loses its wing, it shouldn't live anymore. That means you should they told me to put an envelope in the refrigerator, in this freezer, and it wouldn't have any suffering. It would just die in the freezer. And I could not do that. I just did not have my heart to do that. So he said, well, if you want to keep her alive until she dies, buy a plant, regular plant. And he told me to get like water, like orange water and stuff. And so for 1 month, this butterfly lived in my house on this plant, and I would squeeze like little lemon water juice, because they butterflies eat off flowers and off like orange nectar and stuff like that. We don't know that. And she lived, and it was a miracle, because they said he didn't think that she would live longer than a week. And when I would talk to her, like the little wing that couldn't, and she would jump, off the plant, because she couldn't fly. She would try to fly, but she couldn't.
You're very sweet, Amy Barbera.
So she dies. I was devastated. I came home from work. This is when I was working the job when I get off at 1 or 2 in the afternoon.
Sure.
I cried and cried and cried. But so many people on MySpace were so touched by the story because a lot of people had cancer, and it was like, even though there's this little tiny insect. And so I had footage right before Grace died. A friend of mine, Ed Vina, was a film guy that I knew. We filmed her. And since that, he died. Ed Vina and the other guy died too. All 3 of them died since we did that footage. And he's filming little Grace on my hand outside. And we used, I don't know if you've watched the end of my video when I have the memorial section. There's the footage of Grace. So that was going back from all the way in 2007. And it was old footage, by the way. My producer, Ben, had to figure out a way. It was so old that, all the new equipment now is so different. He had to figure out how to pull it off.
You took 2 years to make this thing.
Yeah, so it was like 2 years. And I said, finally last year, after releasing the album and everything, I said, let me just focus completely on getting this video out. So I had 3 editors on it. And Lisa Corinne did the creative editing, which she did an amazing job. And then Ben, my producer who does everything, he did the final edit. And we changed some scenes because I had so much footage because we filmed in 4 locations. So I had hours of footage. So making a video is so much work, unbelievable work. And I had to go through the whole process with everybody. And and April's the one who had me do the pool scene at the mansion. I did not want to do that. She said, the last scene you're going to film, you're going to get in the water. And I, I had full makeup. I said, I'm not getting in the water in a gown. And it ended up, she yelled at me the whole time. And it ended up being one of the most beautiful scenes in the video. Yeah. Because she said, I want you to get under the water and swim. So it ended up, it was her idea for the graveyard. It was her idea for the pool. And those are some of the most, and I released the video. And then my friend Robin, who's in film, she's an actress and she does film. She used one of my songs, Breath of Angels, for her little short film that she filmed recently. And she started submitting to film festivals. And she said, Amy, there's music festivals. There's also music video. You can submit your video and you could win, whatever. So I've taken this last, 6 months to a year because I released it'll be a year in June since I released the video. I released it last June. And I promote it all by myself. Every day I'm promoting behind the scenes. I didn't hire a YouTube company to get me, views. I'm doing it all authentically.
Nope, it's all Amy Barbera.
And it's not easy work. And I started entering, and I've entered into 8 film festivals. And each film festival tells you at a different time throughout the year if you made it in. So I did a TV interview locally. They came to me at the beginning of the year, and they filmed me at the park where I did my second scene in my video, the Enchanted Forest scene. And 2 of the ladies, they were Christian, who were interviewing me, and they said, you should enter your video in the International Christian Film Festival.
Cool.
And I had already entered in several film festivals at that time. I think maybe 1 or 2. Because Robin encouraged me, but I didn't even think about the International Christian Film Festival because I didn't even know it was existent. She said, oh, yeah, and it's coming up in Orlando. So I went home that weekend, and because of them, I submitted. And I found out 2 months ago that I made it in as a 2019 official selection. So I'm like, oh, my gosh, I made it into my first festival,
Hey, all right.
I posted about it like 2 months ago. I couldn't believe it. I made it in. And they had over 1,000 submissions. They said it was their number 1 year of submissions, and the judges could only narrow down each category because they had like a short film category, and they had a documentary category, and they had a music video. So I made it. The judges picked my video as one of the top videos in the music video category.
Stop.
Which is called
Excellent.
the 2000. Yeah, so that's why I'm on 24 Hour Flicks TV. I just put that up on Instagram this morning. The thing is, they did have the festival like 2 weeks ago. I was not able to go because, everything going on with my mom and different things. But they told me my video, I talked to them. I talked to the guy, Marty, who was wonderful. And he said, your video will be screening at the festival, and it will screen on 24 Hour Flicks TV, which is an affiliation with Netflix. It's It's a family-friendly Netflix that a Christian network started. And they even have all the old classic movies like I Love Lucy. So they play secular TV,
Yes.
but it's all family friendly.
For $4
So
a month.
Yes, $4 a month. So
go get
my
it.
music. What is it?
It's only $4 a month. Go get it.
Well, no, I'm already on there
No, I'm
because
saying it. I'm telling the people, the listeners.
yeah, everything's on there. But like they have all the sports games, like all like the basketball, and they have my video. And the guy, I just talked to him yesterday, and when I went into the music, they made it one of the like. There's the first four, and then you go over. I'm the fifth video in the music section. So, and the guy loved my video. He actually told me I had to send him the original file because they were having trouble with the YouTube. Because once I became a 2019 official selection, so that happened, and so I just put up how I'm on 24-hour Flicks TV constantly, and it never goes down.
Hey,
So that's amazing because I made it into the festival. And I made it as a selection, so I always have that. But now, because of the festival, I'm on this TV network professionally, and and people are going to be going. It's going to grow and grow and grow. So that happened, and then the French Riviera Film Festival in Cannes, France, saw that I got in. I made an announcement all over social media that I made it in that festival. So they contacted me on Instagram, and I said, "Well, if I submit to your festival, even if I can't come to France, can I still make it in?" Having no idea that I would even make it in, but I wanted to know up front. And they said, yes, we understand people can't come to France. So each festival has their own, they pick a different time. And 2 weeks ago on a Tuesday, I got the email that not only did I make it in, but I was a semifinalist.
How cool is that?
Yeah, so I put that up. That was 2 weeks ago. And that one, I made only 6 music videos made it into the finalist category.
Oh.
So that is amazing, and that's in Cannes. It's called the French Riviera Film Festival in Cannes. It's affiliated with the big Cannes Film Festival. They're a smaller division, but they're affiliated with Cannes. Like they're acknowledged by Cannes and everything.
Amy
And I have
Barbera going forward. Good job.
So I have 6 other festivals that I've submitted to, that I will find out different times during the year. And I submitted to the Global Music Awards, which is just music. And that one's in Los Angeles, I believe, or California somewhere. That one I find out later, like in the summer, if I made it in. But the other Widescreen Film Festival, which is in Vegas, they used to be in Florida. They emailed me yesterday that the judges had selected, they want to move my video forward out of 668 videos, but that's in all categories. I don't think it's just in music.
Right.
But they wanted to know if I was going to be able to come to Vegas. And I honestly told in September, because they want to, because all the festivals have different rules. They're all different. Like some of them, you're not required to be there. So I wrote them because they said we love the judges, because all these festivals have judges. And we want to pick you because you're one of the ones that they picked. But I said to him, I honestly don't know if I can come. I honestly don't know. Right. So I know I was selected. I got the email, but I don't know if how they're gonna do it. So this is kind of what I've been focusing on more now, only because it's another avenue to get yourself out there, and it's an easy way to get promotion and have people see you, and you just submit. And if you get in, you have an opportunity to go to these festivals. But like from making it into the Christian International, now I have a relationship with International Christian and Film Festival. They now put me on 24-hour Flicks TV. And I talked to the gentleman, Marty, and he was so nice. And he said, Amy, we would love for you to submit any new videos. They knew I couldn't come. So it opens the door for new people and new things to see you outside of what you normally would think, So, and I'm getting in the festivals because, a lot of people, my friend Robin said a lot of filmmakers submit and they don't get in, and it's through Film Freeway. So I have a Film Freeway page and all the submissions, and they check you off. Like I've been selected. So the first 2 I've made it in, and that doesn't happen because I have other friends in film who their videos aren't making it in. So I know it's God, helping me and kind of trying to take me to the next level in a different way than I ever thought. You know what I mean?
I'm amazed that you're doing this all by yourself, girl.
All by myself. So I'm exhausted.
I believe you. And taking care of your sick mama, or at least
Yeah,
helping.
taking care of myself. And I'm working. I'm recording my song "Jesus Set Me Free to Fly." We recorded the lead vocals like 2 weeks ago.
I see that on your banner on Facebook.
Yeah, and we're gonna do a music video to that. So that's gonna be in the works. And so that's I haven't really thought about doing another album at this time. So I'm trying to think of other avenues.
Well, you've got a lot of songs out there. 12 on the first album. How many on the second?
I have 12 or 13 on the, I can't remember if it's 12 or 13 on the first, 10 on the second, and I have songs in between, like Walking on the Stars was never released on an album. All my dance remixes were never released on albums, like Electric Church is like a dance remix. And then I have all the Christmas songs.
Wow.
And I have three original Christmas songs. I have a total of about 40 songs on iTunes between everything.
Yeah,
and 2 albums.
I think the last few Christmases I have you in rotation on the well, not just on Radio What, but also when I do parties, I'll play the song and they'll, who is that? Oh, you got to look her up. You got to look her up. It's Amy Barbera.
Oh,
Check it out.
So it's so much work, and I'm just really praying. But my main goal is to really lead people to the Lord through my music, and the more that I go and the more struggles I have, I really want, and maybe even eventually do a worship album. I've never wanted to do that, but I think more, as I go, kind of go in that direction and stuff. So it's this point in my life, I'm just so exhausted. I've never been so exhausted. And I think it's just everything between my mom being sick and that we have a dog. We only had Oreo a couple years. And then
so cute.
Yeah, she's a doll. And God's used her to teach me so much.
How so?
And then, just working longer hours than I used to in the past. It's just, I'm just praying for something. So it's like this, getting in these festivals and having these little things happen. I've been doing the interviews, it's really, it helps boost me to know, okay. Like when you contacted me and all these interviews that are happening, the people are contacting me.
Sure. Well, the people have to know about Amy Barbera, that's for sure.
Yeah, I'm just leaving it in God's hands, No,
and you're doing the work yourself as well. God helps those who helps themselves, and
yeah. So it's a lot, and I don't know what the next step is. I mean, I know what direction I want to go in with the songs, and I eventually want to do a full Christmas album and another full album. I have songs sitting there. I did a song called Pour on Me Rain. I have that one. I have We All Want to Be Loved. I have My Sunshine. These are songs that are ready to go for an album. They're just sitting there. So
sitting there, how you mean written in your notebook?
In a file. Yeah, already recorded. Fully recorded songs.
Fully recorded songs.
Fully recorded songs, just never been released. I have, and then the Sweet Pea song. The cool thing about the Sweet Pea song is I started recording that. And I released in early 2016. I worked with Kiskade. She was blind, amazing lady, amazing. She a genius of music. And I was deciding who to work on the song with because at the time TC said you need to do a song, and I wrote it about him. Yes. And I met Kiskade in January of 2016, and we did the song together in January. We finished it in February of 16. I've never released it yet because it's all about timing for me. I'm all about timing.
You think you're not like Prince, but from what I understand, Prince has so much unreleased music and videos and movies that he produced, and they're just locked up in his vault. And people think, oh, nobody will ever see them ever. Maybe 50 years or whatever, maybe down the line. But he has so much of this art that he's never released, and you have it too.
Yeah, it's very small scale. He has it huge. but actually, TC just proposed to me in the beginning of the year.
When?
So I said, oh my God, this is perfect. So this is why I didn't release the song. It was the right timing. So I'm planning the release, and that one I have a video too, and it's completely different style. I'm singing in that nostalgic sound. and people, like, it was so easy, to record, and the song came to me, and it was all because of TC telling me about that group. It's not the Pentatonics, because the Pentatonics, it's another, and I can't think of what they're called.
No, I understand. I see them in my head. It's a girl on.
Yeah, Holly's her name. Yeah. Yes, that's what TC. That's the song. Another thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to record one of Prince's songs called "Still Would Stand All Time." Wow. It's a gospel song that he did, and it's on his album Graffiti Bridge, I think.
That's not one of the later ones. I know he was Jehovah's Witness at the end.
Yeah, but the reason I'm doing that is because, and I tell people that part of my testimony of coming to the Lord is through Prince, believe it or not.
Right.
As I was healing from the anorexia and going to the counseling, I would, be in the basement, and I would, listen to Prince, because at that time, he's pretty much all the music I listened to at that time.
Sure.
And there are a lot of songs on many of his albums. We know he has his very sexual side and his side, but throughout his life, like, he had a song called "The Cross," right. And a lot of big Christian artists have remade his song called "The Cross." That was actually before he became a Jehovah's Witness.
Right.
And he has a song called "The River," which is a song about him coming to God. And he has "Still Would Stand All Time," which is about him coming to God. And it's actually, when you listen to it, it's the way he produced it is a very strange melody. It's almost like a minor key, and the way it's sung. But that was one of the songs that God used in my life to speak to me and heal me through my anorexia. And I remember exactly where I was, and I started crying. It was like, God will use he can use anything to talk to us. It doesn't. He even used a donkey in the Bible to talk to somebody, or a burning bush. And God knows each one of us individually. And at that time in my life, Prince was something that I would listen to. And I didn't know about Christian music, and nobody on the radio was talking about God in the secular realm. But Prince, he always, even in his Purple Rain album, like "When Doves Cry," and also his album, his most famous song, that opened the Purple Rain. When you listen to him interview about it, he actually wanted to use God and the devil in the elevator song, but they wouldn't let him, because they said that's not going to make radio. So that's why he called it "The Elevator." So it's like, I know in my heart, like, Prince was very strange, and he had his own, but he had a real, and even if you watch even old interviews when he was really young, like, I think he was on American Bandstand or something, and they asked him, and he said, "Why I talk to God?" That's not very common with secular artists. So he had a very special anointing. He had a gift. And I really feel, because I met Maite when, his wife, that she wrote a book called A Beautiful, when he first died, the following year, she released her book. She was the one that was married to him, his dancer, and then they lost a baby. The baby was born with a disease. And so I met her in person in Miami when the book came out, and I got to get up and talk about how God used Prince to lead me to Jesus. And it was amazing. Everybody was crying, even Maite, And I said, Maite, I know everybody wants to always know about his music, and we all know, but what was he like as a person with God? And she said, Amy, he always had faith, and he always carried his Bible everywhere. And in the midst of all his crazy, you know how he was.
Sure.
Mysterious.
I don't think crazy. Mysterious, maybe.
He wasn't crazy in that way. He was not crazy. He was amazing. He was just very private and very different, like mysterious. He was actually very amazing. So I just was like, I want to release a song that really touched me. Sure. So I'm going to be doing my own version of it, "Still Would Stand All Time." Most people don't even know the song. It's not anything that would ever make radio. It'll probably be hard, because he does this big gospel thing at the end. So that is something that I've been talking with my producer about, and it would be part of my testimony, actually, because people are really like, wow, I didn't know that he wrote a song like that. But he does have a song called "The Cross," and there's several major Christian bands have redone it and used it on their albums. So other Christian bands have used his music. There's several songs that he did where you could use his music, like that. So that's something that I'm also looking to do. And that's really from my heart. But we have to do it right, and I already called, because you have to get the, what is it called? The rights. which they said I could do it as long as I don't change any of the lyrics, but I don't want to change the lyrics because it's perfect the way it is. But that's something that I'm going to be working on in the next year or two too.
Wow.
But that's the three main things at this time.
Have you been performing anywhere? Any concerts or?
I actually performed a lot, like did some stuff last year, and then I was just asked to sing for David Winters, who was in the original West Side Story movie and Broadway play.
Cool.
He just passed away.
Oh.
He was Arab in the original West Side Story, and
that's great.
He was 80 years old. He just passed away, and I know him because my friend Donna was close with him, and so I spent time with him in the hospital before he died and got to be his friend. And he was 80 years old and he was really suffering, and I would talk to him about the Lord. And Donna came over and asked me if I would sing somewhere, because I sing somewhere for his memorial on June 2nd. So that just came up. I don't even like thinking about it. I'm so nervous. His big funeral was just in Los Angeles, or I think around Los Angeles area. Donna went, and all the cast that are still here, Cheetah Rivera, what's the other guy? George Jakaris, they were all at his funeral. So he worked with Barbara Streisand. His book, he has a guy called Tough Guys Do Dance. His book came out a year or two ago.
Yeah.
And it's his journey of being, starting out as a child star, and then West Side Story, when he was in it, won the Oscar that year. He was only 17. And then he went on to work with Barbara Streisand. They hired him to do the choreography for A Star Is Born back in Barbara. And then he worked with Elvis Presley on La Viva Las Vegas. His book is absolutely amazing. It's his journey of being a dancer and being in entertainment. I mean, he worked with Michael Jackson in the earlier days. And so here he is, in his 80s. Well, he turned 80 in April. And he's in so much pain. And me and Donna were there for him. We were like, one of the main two, especially Donna. I couldn't be there all the time. So I was asked for that. That's something that just came up.
Oh, West Side Story is my favorite. Full disclosure, my favorite musical for sure. I watch it.
Really? Well, he was in the original musical on Broadway.
Right.
And then they went on to, and Steven Spielberg is doing it's going to come out in 2020, the new West Side Story movie.
I think
they made it more modern. He's Arab. David Winters is Arab. He's the red-haired one in the movie. He's the one does the really cool in the cool scene, in the cool thing.
Cool.
He's the main dancer. And I was so sad in the end when he was sick, because I was with him in the end.
Yes.
And it was so sad because he had a heart condition and different diabetes, and his legs were swollen, and he would say, Amy, I'm in so much pain. I held his hand in the hospital, and he couldn't even walk anymore. And I said, Donna, he's suffering. We were wanting him to be alive, but at the same time, I was like, what? He's suffering so bad. Like, it got to the point where he couldn't even walk anymore, and he was in so much pain. And I just was like,
it's time to go.
He couldn't even dance. He couldn't do anything. It was just so much suffering. And I know now that he's just dancing in heaven. And I shared it on Facebook. The last time I saw him in the hospital was like a week or two before he died. And I'm by his bedside, and I'm holding his hand. And my friend Elise is on the other side. Donna wasn't quite there yet. She was on the way. And we were helping rub his legs because the covers are, but he was in so much pain. And Lisa was rubbing. And he said, Amy, he loved his mother so much. He had a really strong relationship with his mother. And he shared the story about when his mother was dying. He said, when my mom was dying, I dropped everything that I was doing. And at that time, of course, he was doing, he was big in Hollywood. He did a lot of stuff in Hollywood and worked with every big name. And he said, I came to her side for 3 weeks, and I just hugged her and talked to her and just was there. And he said, when you're like me and you're elderly and you're older like this, you just need to be hugged. Because a lot of times, he said, people like me are in nursing homes or anything, they don't get it. They need to be hugged. And I just cried and cried. And he said, and that's exactly what he did with his mom. And I hugged him, and Donna, of course, was there for him every day to the very end, hugging him and everything. So it's like at the end of your life, he did all, if you get his book, Tough Guys Do Dance, it was a #1 bestseller on Amazon. It still is.
Check it out.
unbelievable. I said his life should be a movie. I mean, even when he was a baby, he got in a fire when he was a baby and almost died. He worked with Barbara. He was the one that Alice Cooper hired to do his original tour. David Winters was the one that did his tour, his dancing and all the choreography for. And Alex Cooper actually, he came and saw David a couple years ago here in Florida.
Another very theatrical person there. So yeah.
Yeah. So he did. So he worked with from Elvis to Michael and Barbara Streisand. If you get his book, and but it's just sad. In the end of his life, all that didn't matter because he's suffering. You know what I mean?
But
and all that mattered.
He had people that loved him hanging around, and that was nice.
Yeah, and he had his family, his son, he had his sons, and he had people. But his son was in Thailand and doing movies and stuff. And his son is wonderful, and they were very close. But like in the end, when he's talking to me in his bed, he's telling me about his mother. We're not talking about, we're not talking about when he's, on Broadway or, he didn't want to talk. He was talking about being with his mother by her side, before she died, not knowing that, 2 weeks down the line, he was going to die, and it just makes you see things in a whole different perspective, and I don't know. Donna asked me to sing, and it's going to be hard. I don't even want to think about it because it makes me nervous, Wow. So that just happened recently too. I did put up a post about it on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter, and and it's on the David Winters dance icon page on Facebook too. And so many people were so touched because, when I shared because hundreds of people, and he's got fans all over the world and people from his generation that love West Side Story, they look up to him as a celebrity and everything, which he was. But I wanted to show the side of him about his mother. I shared the story with his mother, and people were really touched by that. They wrote me. So, and I didn't know him as a celebrity. I just knew him from when I knew him, from the times that he was with Donna and I was with them. You know what I mean? I didn't know him as that big celebrity,
Right.
You know what I mean?
You knew David Winters, not.
I knew David Winters, and I would ask him questions and stuff like that. And his book says it all, but it's amazing because it also is helping dancers because it's a book about being a dancer, a male dancer, and he also did a lot of the Huckabaloo show and all these big shows from back in the day, like my parents' time, and that my parents remember that I wouldn't necessarily remember. Cool. But he was a part of all that stuff, and it's just amazing. So that's kind of where I'm at now, and I'm seeing where God's going to take me, and just taking it one day at a time, and just praying for time, and praying to have time with my mom, and that's kind of where I'm at now with my life and my music.
Well, you're planning a wedding too.
Yes, and I haven't even had a chance to plan the wedding because there's just so much going on. I mean, that's another thing. Set? No date set.
Okay. The engagement was just recent, though. So TC, good dude. He's you have somebody in your corner that's supporting you.
Yeah. And I want to do a nice wedding, more of a small wedding, and then we want to go to Italy or Greece, or probably Italy and then eventually Greece later. What? But I'd rather have a teeny tiny wedding and then spend it on Italy or something.
Sure.
Because people say, don't get a $40,000 wedding and then you're stressed out,
Right. And I get to do weddings all the time as a DJ. So I have had one last Saturday, and I'll have one next Saturday as well. So. And
they're very expensive. Yes. I had my CD release party, and everybody's thought it was like a wedding. And I think it was like $7,000 by everything. I mean, that includes the production of the CD, like the printing and everything. But I had to hire a sound person, and I had to hire a photographer, and I had to hire a videographer. So it's not, just like you do at a wedding.
Oh, you've already planned a wedding then.
I hired a catering company.
Yes.
The main thing for me for my wedding is the walking down the aisle. I'm going to use the song "Our Love Can Do Miracles" from The Notebook.
And I'm guessing you're going to be in a dress that you maybe found at a thrift shop.
Yeah, I have a vision of what I want. I want a mermaid dress. Yeah.
What? I see. I knew it would be something special.
mermaid, and I want to have red in the dress, like red roses, maybe in like little embroidery. I don't want to have just all white. Like it'll be a white or cream dress, but with maybe a tint of red in the roses or something. I don't know.
How non-traditional, Amy
I
Barbera.
haven't, yeah, I haven't even had a chance to even think about it because there's just so much going on, and my mom is so sick.
Oh, Mom.
And it's like
It's Mother's Day weekend.
Yeah, and David just passed, which was hard because I was around him a lot in the end with Donna. It's just been, hard, a couple weeks as, just dealing with my mom and everything. And then, so, I know everything will be in God's timing, but at least I'm engaged and I can start thinking about,
At least I'm engaged to a really good dude.
Yeah, and also like I can finally release the Sweet Pea song, or maybe even use it as part of the wedding, because I did do this song for him.
So excited about that. And your outfit, the polka dots, they're always in fashion.
Yeah, and when that song comes out, I will send that to you. And that one I can send to different types of radio because it's, a different style. It's like nostalgic,
So cool. Oh, on radio what? I play whatever I like. If anybody else likes it, hey, they can listen.
Yeah, and you are amazing. And then there's Internet Radio International Network, which is based out of Italy, but they play pretty much all jazz, R&B, gospel, and they also have like a lounge, which they use all of my meditation music on the lounge.
So cool.
So between you and them and a couple of the other radios, you guys are amazing. And there's one in another radio. I can't even think what they're called right now, but they play my music a lot too. But you're amazing. And I always retweet things. You notice that? Yes.
Yes. I think I might tweet too much. It's possible. But
all the radio stations that play my music, like every time you put up, it pops up, or I even search for it sometimes. I always retweet it.
Yeah, I even sneak over to your Twitter and I'll retweet their tweets too.
Yeah, because sometimes people, so... But just pray for me because I feel like stressed and just praying for time and, I just don't know. I just feel like I want to have more time,
Keep a smile on your face, Amy Barbera.
Yeah,
well, I guess as we're rounding this out, I think I've taken enough of your time. My goodness, I've learned so much about you, Amy Barbera. How do the people find you online?
They can go to my website. Well, you can Google Amy Barbera, AMYBARBERA, and everything comes up. But my website, www.amybarbera.com, and all my social media icons are at the top, like on my homepage.
13 of them up there.
Yes, and I'm on Facebook. I have 2 Facebook pages, a fan page and a regular personal page. I have Twitter. I have Instagram. I have YouTube. I have SoundCloud and MySpace and About Me. I mean, I was on Google Plus, but they turned out all the Google Plus pages went out. I'm pretty much everywhere, and all of my music is on iTunes. It's on CD Baby. It's on Amazon. I'm also on Spotify and Pandora and, all those different networks as well. And now I'm on 24-Hour Flicks TV, my video. Yep, and that I'm very happy about. That just happened this week. Actually, they put everything up this week. And who knows what's going to happen with these other festivals. I'll be updating as I find out, and everything's on my website, like what festival I got in, I put up a new thing. So I don't know what God has in store, but I know that he's doing something.
Any last words for the people, Amy Barbera?
Just to know that Jesus loves them, God loves them, and to just continue to be themselves. Don't try to, when I was listening to the Christian channel the other day, and one of the ministers he was saying that, our society today is so based on likes, everybody, and it can be very hard on people. They think, well, if I put up something and I don't get enough likes, and I'm kind of we all deal with that in the social media world, but that's not who you are. You're not based on, how popular are you on social media or, I want to tell a story real quick about that. There's a guy from on Instagram. I don't know how to even say his name. Metapedo. It starts with an M. I don't even know. I think he's from India or one of those places. And everything he puts up is about Jesus. Everything is just all people know. And nobody likes his stuff. He might have one like. And I even cry thinking about this. and I would go on and I would like everything that he had. And God spoke to me to say, here we have like all these big celebrities and they're just putting selfies and they're putting boobs and, all these things that really aren't going to help anybody or matter in the end.
Sure.
And they might get 1 million likes on a picture, something so artificial. And then somebody like him who's really trying to like do something. And so I cried myself to sleep, thinking about that. And so that's kind of what I want to leave people with. That stuff doesn't really matter. It's really what, and it's so like now this particular person, I don't even know how to say, he's constantly writing me, thank you for all your kindness. And, every post I put up, because it's like, God, somebody saw, and that's kind of what I'm like crying even thinking about it.
People are often afraid to post or talk about their faith or their beliefs because of repercussions or possible repercussions. And you could talk about whatever you want. And if you feel this strongly about your faith, I encourage you to tell everybody that this is stuff you're passionate about. And if you have a calling to tell people about it, do it. If they get turned off or off put, you know when to stop talking. You know when to turn it off. Even Jesus knew that.
Oh yeah, he knew that. And with this, the thing is I think there's so much going on with social media as far as people, you wanting to be liked and wanting to, and that the reason I'm bringing this up is because on the TBN Christian channel they were talking about that we're in a whole different generation than we were several years ago. Now it's the like me generation that they base their self-worth on how many people like them on Instagram, and especially teenagers. It's really hard on them, and it's hard. And in some ways, it's good. It helps you and you minister to other people, but in other ways, so it's this constant battle, on social media with people liking you and popularity, and that's not really what it's about. I want people to know that they're loved regardless, and that Jesus loves them, and that's really what it's about in the end.
All you need is your close-knit group of friends, and I like you and have liked you for a long time, Miss Amy Barbera, and not just because you're a wonderful artist, you're a good person as well, and I'm glad you found TC. He's a lucky dude, a lucky man.
Well, I'll tell him that. Thank you so much. Yeah, and keep me posted when do you think the interview will go up?
Oh, it'll probably be on within the hour.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we'll talk a little bit later, Miss Amy Barbera. Thank you so much.
Okay. Take care. Thank you so much. And it was wonderful speaking with you.
Hooray.
Take care. You're wonderful. Thank you.
Party people in the house. So amazing. So talented, Miss Amy Barbera. And she's touches a lot of lives, and a lot of lives touch her as well. Obviously, she's deep feeling, a very sweet person, just amazing. Is a good adjective that comes to mind. Just a wonderful person. She's got about 30 songs out there. I encourage you to step to amybarbera.com and click on every social media tab on the top. I think there's 13 of those social medias that she's keeping track of herself. That's a full-time job right there. There's people that are in teams, that a lot of artists, the artists that are famous, what you would consider famous right now, because everybody has a little bit of fame in their own hometown. Isn't there a song, everybody's famous in a small town? Yeah. You're very important to the people that love you and that you are loved by. Thank you so much for listening. Amy Barbera, thank you so much for coming on the program, What Makes You Famous. I've admired you, and I like what you do, and I like seeing you on your social media as well, and your songs are just they're inspiring. They're inspiring. They'll inspire you to do different things, and I'm happy that I've been playing them on RadioWhat.com over the years, and I'm glad that she enjoys that, and she gets a retweet out of it, and hopefully that pushes her even further. So I encourage you to look up Amy Barbera. And I'm so excited. You're going to get married soon. Congratulations to you and TC. Well, I think I can wind this up. Thank you so much for listening to What Makes You Famous. If you want to tell your story on What Makes You Famous, please give me a call at 501-470-6386 or email info@radiowhat.com. It's Keys Dan with radiowhat.com, djlittlerock.com. Peace. I'm out of here.
Radio What? The music you want. Hey guys, this is Shelly G with a fast fact. The term disc jockey was first used in 1937. Do you have a fast fact? Share it with us at Interactive Radio, radiowhat.com.
Be on Radio What. Call 501-470-6386. Say your name, where you're from, and you're listening to What? The music you want is on radiowhat.com.